can this offense with a different scheme and maybe an upgrade slightly here and there now be enough to get you to where you want to go? And I think the answer is no right now.
Yeah,
and that's where I come back to Mike and say there are factors that have to be examined here that go beyond. I think they'll just bounce back because.
But here's, and I guess in the first segment I said I'm okay with this if you go all in defensively in the NFL draft. And the more I think about that, it might be that this conversation is more of a 30,000 foot
yes, it is
conversation philosophically about what wins in the NFL. And the Vikings are saying defense can still win you a championship in the NFL. If you're the best defense in the NFL, then you can go in there and you can beat the Tom Brady's of the world and the Pat Mahomes of the world and whoever would come out of the AFC. And you can go into New Orleans with a great defense and you can beat Drew Brees. And I think you have to have such a special defense to make that happen. Historically, there's been a lot of examples of the Patriots have had top 10 defenses on a regular basis throughout their championship runs, but they also have Tom Brady and the most adaptable offensive team in the NFL the last 20 years too. And so what the Vikings are trying to answer the question of is, can you win if you put most of your chips, your head coach, the money you're spending, et cetera, on defense? And so maybe to go further down my path here, maybe if you're going down this path, maybe it does make sense to say, all right, well, drafting a defensive tackle in the first round, drafting another defensive player in the second round, and now you're truly all in on the defensive path. Now, that's not what I would do. I would still go. I would go 2 offensive linemen and a tight end that can catch passes and a wide receiver. I mean, I'm all in on offense on the draft now that they've brought these 2 guys back.
I think the mistake people make, though, is to think that there is only one way to win a Super Bowl. You hear, and this is the most wrong, but you hear all the time, defense wins championships from old meatheads. You also hear the people who go, the only way you're going to win a Super Bowl is with a franchise quarterback. And the truth is, neither of those guys is right. And there's a lot of wiggle room in between those guys. To me, there are multiple ways to do it. There are different blueprints that you can use to get there. But the path of least resistance, especially in today's NFL, as Judd was alluding to, is to find that franchise quarterback. And especially while they're still on that rookie contract, use that money and those resources and allocate them around that guy to put him in the best position to succeed. But there isn't just what defense can win championships. Franchise quarterbacks often do win championships, but that's not to say that one way or the other is the right way or the only way to do it. There's multiple ways to get there. The Vikings are choosing the harder path of those 2 that I just laid out.
The path the Vikings are really choosing is sort of it's the New York Giants path of 2007 and 2011, where you don't have Tom Brady, but you have a quarterback. Eli Manning has such a wide range of outcomes. He can lead the league in interceptions, which he has multiple times. And he can also get super hot for a 4-game stretch and ride the momentum and throw for 300 yards and throw for multiple touchdowns. But those Giants teams, they won Super Bowls with a great pass rush, overall great defenses, and a quarterback that gets hot at the right time. And that's the formula the Vikings have to find themselves.
And Flacco did that.
Riding.
Yeah. But
Flacco too.
But we're very close now. In 10 years, I think we're going to be able to go back to this era of this league and draw a line and say it changed then. So those Giants teams, Baltimore teams, I think they were at the tail end of that. So I come back to how many teams now are we going to see that can win Super Bowl championships based on this formula? And the other thing that confuses me slightly is it seems like the Vikings looked at what Cousins did and the offense did and said, let's change the scheme and it's all going to be fine. And I saw Cousins play a lot and I said to myself, okay, statistically he was really good, but there are issues here in which he needs help. And then I look on the defensive side and I say, Zimmer is flat out one of the best defensive minds / coordinators in his day in this league. Mm-hmm. If anybody if either side of the football with the Vikings can come up with schematics to win, it's Zimmer. And yet he's keeping all his guys like this was a high-powered offense. And Kubiak's being brought in and basically saying, go to it with your scheme. It just seems the important thing from me, at least, is I don't know how this team is going to be. I'm not trying to sit here and say they're going to win 4 games or 5 games. They might be fine. They might be a playoff team. But just from the way things are unfolding now, it seems disjointed. It seems disjointed, not to say to Mike as well, Mike, you're going to lose some guys, but we have so much faith in your scheme that we believe your scheme is still going to make this defense certainly good enough to contend for a championship.
And I don't think it seems disjointed. I think if it's wrong, it's not disjointed. It's just the wrong approach. Like that's how I see it. They've clearly committed to an approach.
Oh, they have, but
which is defense, Mike Zimmer, and the guys that they've leaned on the last few years.
But as you see this league evolving and changing, wouldn't you stop and be like, all right, things are changing really quickly here. Is what was definitely to them the right approach in 2014, the right and smart approach in 2019?
I put it this way. The Golden State Warriors have been the model franchise in the NBA the last few years. A lot of teams have tried to come in and say, all right, well, I guess we got to shoot threes too. Well, you got to shoot threes to a certain extent, but you're never going to shoot threes better than the Golden State Warriors. So if you don't have the right quarterback to have a passing attack like the Patriots can have and like the Chiefs can have and Drew Brees and the Saints can have, do you just want to be a diet version of those teams and get slayed in the second round of the playoffs, or do you want to zig a little bit?
Yeah, but do you want
the Vikings are zigging?
But do you
ziggy?
Do you want to?
They're wilfing.
You know what? Now we got to go on. See, I'm not trying.
Oh, come on!
I'm not trying to be funny, so I'm going to leave with you.
The show is now just Mackey.
Oh, for God's sake!
That was very close to me just hitting the dump button. That was that bad.
Come on.
Ramie is a professional comedian. The rest of these yahoos aren't funny.
You can find me at an open mic night later tonight.
I see what you're saying here, but I guess my thought process is, wouldn't I want to create a little bit more cap space to put into that side of the football? So yeah, I'm not going to try and be the Rams in 2019. But I think I would have freed up a little bit of cap space to possibly put some Elmer's glue in the holes that were created in 2018.
Sure. But I think that we're focusing on the wrong thing when we talk about this question of which course is the best course for the Vikings to take. Because, and I'm going to, as we often do when comparing head coaches and organizations, going to take Bill Belichick and the Patriots right out of the equation. That is not a fair comparison for anybody. So outside of the Patriots, tell me that team that has a defensive-minded head coach, but is centered around offense in their quest for a Super Bowl.
That's the disjointed part. If you were to try to do that,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So if you want to take a different course, you need a different head coach. You don't center your organization around a quarterback and offense and have a defensive-minded head coach. It's just not done.
But wouldn't you
can't give me
holes?
One example?
But wouldn't you have filled some holes? Because in no way am I proclaiming that the Vikings should go from defense to offense, but wouldn't you have tried to fill some of the gaps there?
Yes. Yes, I would have.
So I'm not advocating the high-flying Vikings. What I am advocating is realizing that Kirk Cousins isn't who you thought he was and getting him a little bit of help beyond a coach.